Hi guys! So today what I'm going to be doing is an easy skull tutorial, and I'm going to start off using my Morphe 35O palette, and I'm going to start off using that bottom left orange that I just didn't technically show you, and I'm just going to be messily applying that above my natural crease because we're going to want to make your eye look a lot bigger than it really is, and I have pretty small eyes to begin with. And I'm not trying to do this in any specific fancy way. It doesn't have to be neat or anything like that. I found with Halloween looks, you pretty much just do what you do, and the messier, most of the time the better it looks anyways. And then the next thing I'm going to be doing is grabbing that orange again and bringing it up from my inner tear duct and straight up over to the beginning of my eyebrow. This is going to just make your eyes look a little bit more deep set, and as I'm showing the top orange there. And it's going to give you a bit more of like a frowny look, so you don't, I guess, look like a happy skull, but in my opinion I think it makes it look better. And then the next thing I'm going to be grabbing is my Lorac Pro Mini palette. I'm just going to be using the black out of this one. For some reason it was the only palette I could find that had a black in it. And I'm going to be using this Zoeva, I believe this is the shader brush, and just to apply that. And I don't know if it was just because of the shadow that I was using, if it was that Lorac shadow, but for some reason throughout this whole period, this whole look, I had to keep reapplying the black because I found that it would just like disappear, like it would turn very gray, or all of a sudden it just wouldn't be there at all. So I would advise to make sure you have a black that you know and you like. And then, like I said, we're just gonna put it on very messily. It doesn't need to be perfect. Obviously I wasn't really trying to get anything perfect here, I just was kind of slapping it on. And then I'm going to take a crease brush and I'm going to dip a little bit back into that orange and just try and blend it out a bit, which obviously this is going to take a long time considering you are trying to blend out black, which is very close to impossible, it feels like the majority of the time. And then I'm just going back in and trying to smooth it out a bit with that shader brush because as you can see it's looking pretty patchy. And I'm not exactly sure why, if it was, like I said, the powder, or if it was the brush and the powder together, I'm not quite sure, but it was a bit of a bummer. And next what I'm going to be doing is grabbing that black again on a little smudge brush and just putting that on my bottom lash line. Trying to make it as even with the top darkness as you can, which for me meant adding more on my top lid later, but it's okay. And then I'm going to be going in with that same orange we used on the top, and I'm just going to be smoking out that black using that orange.
Baby, I'm wasted. All I wanna do is drive home.
And then as of right now, we technically don't really have an eye shape going. It kind of just looks like a big blob, so out of camera I did conceal a little bit just to help the shape not be so rounded. I kind of wanted more of a cat eye sort of look, so I did do that off camera. And then just going back over that to make sure it's evenly blended, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of that orange to the top because I thought it was lacking orangeness, so I just added a bit more, and it does look pretty terrible right now, but blending is key. Just blend and blend and blend and blend and blend, and eventually you'll like what you see. And the next thing I'm going to be using is this L'Oreal gel eyeliner. This is in black, obviously, and I'm just going to use this to tightline my waterline, which, excuse me if that's a little too up close and personal with my eye. I truly do not know how people can just like stick a brush in their eye and just tightline their top and bottom like, I don't understand that I have to pull it out from my eye. Like, I try to just do what I see some people doing, and I just poke myself in the eye and end up like crying. So props to those who can actually do that, but I unfortunately am not one of those people. See, like, this is me trying, and it's like, see, I just poked myself. It's not going very well. So I definitely give you guys credit. Alright, and moving on with that same gel liner, I'm going to put eyeliner, just my regular everyday winged eyeliner, over top of the eyeshadow, just to help bring it together a little bit more. And the brush that I'm using now and the brush that I use to tightline are actually paint brushes that I got from Michaels. I want to say I saw Desi Perkins talk about how she got one of these brushes, and I could never master gel eyeliner, and I think it was purely because I could never find a brush that I liked. So I thought I'd go to Michaels, and I ended up picking 3, and I absolutely love them. It makes it so much easier to do your eyeliner. Like, if you suck at it, you're not gonna suck anymore with these brushes. I think the brand is Royal and Langnickel, and they have a lot of different shapes. Most of the ones that you could use for eyeliner is just called round, and then there's a number. I want to say I got round 0 and round 1, but I know they had like a 2 and a 4. All very good, and they're very soft, so it's not painful or anything to use around your eyes, and they get so thin. You'll see me, I think you'll see me using it later when I do part of my teeth, but definitely a good brush to have, especially since it is Halloween season and you're gonna need like little skinny precise brushes. This is definitely a good thing to go check out. Alright, and then this next thing, I'm using the same gel eyeliner that I've been using for everything else, and I'm sorry that it is out of frame. I did not know this until I watched it back, but I am using those brushes from Michaels, and as you can see, it's very helpful to have a nice thin line. But I'm just using that eyeliner to make a basically what would be the hole in your skull for your nose. I'm trying not to make it my whole nose. I'm looking off of Crispy's picture that she posted off Instagram, and she kind of made it go more wide than she did like long. I think she made like the top of hers a bit longer than I did, but we have very different noses, so I just went with what I was feeling. And then I'm just filling it in with that thicker brush that I used to tightline. Obviously, it's a lot better idea to use a bigger brush than the little skinny brush to fill in large areas like that. In this part, you do want to make sure that all your lines are pretty crisp. You don't want any smudges or anything like that around the area, and you want to make sure that the black is a very even black, no patchiness or anything like that. Alright, so that is my finished little schnoz. And then with a little Zoeva pencil brush, I'm just going to go back into that Morphe palette and grab a little bit of that orange. And I'm placing it on the tips, the skinnier parts of the nostril, and I'm trying to kind of only put them on one side of it, kind of to make a shadow, but basically just to give it more dimension and not make it look like you just have some black stuff on your face. And since it's that same orange, it's going to blend together with your eyes and what we're going to do later. And this part I didn't make very neat either. Truthfully, I was more concerned about how it was going to look on camera and in pictures and stuff like that. So in person, you can kind of tell that it's just like two little blocks of orangey brownness. So if you were going to wear this to like a Halloween party or something, I would say make sure that those parts are definitely blended. And then for the next part, I'm going to be using a Zoeva contour brush. I'm going to be grabbing this gray-brown shade right here. And I'm just going to start, I'm going to eyeball it, but start kind of contouring out the cheekbones and then kind of like where the mouth is going to be, and make sure that I don't move because I was trying to get one sweet and solid line. So sweet and simple, kind of like a little very not so squiggly S. And then you want to make sure obviously that both sides are even, so don't just draw one side and draw the other one. Make sure you're looking back to make sure that they're even. And this part doesn't have to be very neat. You're kind of going to end up going over this with shadow anyways, but if you don't want to go over it with shadow, I guess you could make this pretty neat, but it's not necessary because basically right now you're just drawing out your lines of what you're gonna do.
I'm wasted. All I wanna do is drive home to you, baby.
And I'm just gonna start kind of filling that in with the gray that I had left on the brush. Not detrimental, but I just wanted to add a little bit more shadow before I go into the next step. Alright, and then next with another crease brush, going to be grabbing the lighter of the three oranges this time and just start applying that over the gray that we had already put on. And at this point it kind of doesn't matter what orange you used. I just started with the light one just in case I messed up, that way it wouldn't be too dark, but eventually you are going to go in with the darker one anyways. And for this, you just want to make sure that it's pretty much all evenly blended. You could add more product towards the top of your line if you wanted to, but I kind of added that gray so that I wouldn't necessarily have to do that, so it kind of shaded for me. But you could definitely do that if you wanted to, just to add a little bit more depth to it. And for this step, I didn't think about it until after I was doing this, but if you were gonna do this look, you could definitely put like a poreless sort of primer on your cheeks for where you're gonna be doing this, just to give you a much more smoother surface to work on. I didn't do that. I actually didn't put on any primer for this because I was planning on just taking it off right after. But as I was doing it, I thought about it and I was like, probably should have put on a good primer first. But that's okay. And then what I'm doing here is just grabbing a little bit more of that gray that we first used and just kind of darkening up the lines a bit. They kind of faded out with the blending process, so I just wanted to make sure that they got to be darkened up a bit.
All I wanna do is take you downtown, baby. I'm wasted. All I wanna do is drive home to you, baby.
Alrighty guys, and now for the fun part. I'm going to be taking my Kat Von D tattoo liner, and I'm going to start off by just extending the corner of my mouth, not too far, but decent, if that makes sense. I guess a good way to explain it would be maybe to try and match up the outer corner of your eye and straight down and have the line of your mouth go out to about there. And then here, again, so sorry I'm out of frame, but I'm just drawing thin lines with the liner to mimic teeth, And as of right now, I am not going to be very picky about how my lines are. I'm pretty much just doing little squares at this point, not putting too much detail into them. And you could definitely like open your mouth and line up where you want your lines to be with your natural teeth. I didn't think of that. I just decided to wing it, and oddly enough, they actually, if I open my mouth, they kind of line up pretty well, which is kind of weird, but just a good guesser, I guess. And I didn't do anything specific as to like counting how many teeth people have and counting how many lines and teeth I was putting on. I was just putting on lines just to fill up the space. And when I got to the corner of my mouth on either side, I had a line, so technically 2 teeth on either side, obviously, but because my mouth did curve and my lips did curve, when I did my top and bottom line, they didn't match up. So all I did for that was I added like a black triangle at the base of my lip, like on the inner part, to make it look like a shadow so that I could match the shadows up and make it look like my teeth were more aligned. Yeah, you can kind of see me doing that. I kind of used the thicker part of it and kind of pressed my lips down on the thicker part of the eyeliner and just dragged it out. So you can see it makes it look a lot more realistic. And this definitely was my favorite part. I think this is my most favoriteest part with every single skull look. But what I'm doing right now is just detailing, even though I didn't get the whole other half of my mouth done. I'm extending out that line, just making it a little bit more darker, and I'm adding more so like shadows to the bottom of the teeth by adding little black triangles in between, not just the single lines, to help give the teeth a bit of a shape and not just like chiclets.
All I wanna do is take you downtown, baby. I'm wasted. All I wanna do is drive home to you, baby. I'm faded. All I wanna do is take you downtown, baby.
Okay, guys, I'm just adding up the finishing touches, and that is it for my easy skull tutorial that was inspired by Crispy. I hope you guys liked it, and comment, like, subscribe, and send me your pictures if you guys try this look. Bye!